What's up, guys? Thank you very much for tuning into the video today. I got a couple clips to show, and then I'm going to share my thoughts on them.
And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction.
So I'm glad that he's at least brought this idea up with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, and that they have ensured him that this is a good idea to go and develop land in this nation. As for the jobs, I'm not entirely sure what this will do for the American economy. On the one hand, I'm sure that Western culture and an American economy would be able to bring lots of prosperity to the area. However, I'm not really sure who this will be helping, right? I don't imagine a large number of American citizens now moving out to get the Gaza Strip in order to, create businesses and work jobs and stuff. So that would generally mean that people from the surrounding areas and the areas that he's mentioned will, be the ones who are working there, which I'm not entirely against. I think that could be something that's beneficial for the people in the area. However, I think the issues in the Middle East are a lot bigger than just saying that we're going to move out there and, put some McDonald's in and hope for the best. I think that logistically speaking, there's a lot more that would go wrong with this idea, such as, kicking people, hundreds of thousands of people out of their homes and just expecting them to move somewhere else. And also, getting people who actually want to go out and build businesses out there that are on the other side of the world.
He has a different idea, and I think it's worth paying attention to this. We're talking about it. He's exploring it with his people, with his staff. I think it's something that could change history, and it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Now, these were Netanyahu's thoughts. I feel like he might have an ulterior motive on this, and I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, this entire war in Palestine and the Gaza Strip has been extremely taxing on him and his, government. So I feel like he's in a position where he wants the Palestinians out of Gaza, however that may happen. And I think he sees that Trump would be a person who would get them out in whatever way he wants, really. So as for, what's the good for every party involved, as far as the billionaires on Donald Trump's side who want to develop the land there and the waterfront property, works out for them. And as for the Israeli government, it sort of works out for them because they no longer have to deal with this problem. However, for the people who, are living in Gaza themselves, they kind of get screwed over by this, right? Because they're forced to leave their home, and he's talked about moving them to Egypt and I forget where else. I think it was Jordan or Syria, which those governments have all expressed that they do not want to take in a large influx of Palestinians. So for those people who are actually involved in the specific habitat that they're living in that specific community, they're kind of forced out of that, which I'm not sure if we've learned from history or not, but we've seen this countless times in our more recent history, even within the birth of the United States nation. We saw this in the Trail of Tears. We've seen this in World War II and the Holocaust. I'm not trying to relate that to it specifically, but things like this are not humanitarian. They're not human, and I don't think that this is something that really should be happening, especially when it comes to the United States government specifically committing these acts.
Would know nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous and
So this is very obviously an issue that Trump is not well versed in. He's very obviously not been to the Gaza Strip, as we saw from that clip where he says that he studied it from many different angles. There's another clip I'll try to show. He says he studied it from every angle better than if he was there.
And right now, I've seen every picture from every angle, better than if I were there.
which just literally contradicts itself, I think. It shows he's only seen pictures and photographs of this place. He's never actually been there, which I feel like is an important decision to make when you're considering one, purchasing land, and two, purchasing land with the intent to fix it or salvage it. I've personally never been to the Gaza Strip as well, so I can't really speak on that portion of it, but like any area, I'm sure there's tons of beautiful places, and besides that, there is thousands of years of history there for those people who have been living there for these thousands of years. It's a religious landmark, historic landmark. It's not a piece of Western culture. And furthermore, it's not a piece of Western culture that can just be bought and sold and renovated like it's a house. Like he's specifically talking about taking a historic and religious landmark, a piece of land that has probably more history than 95% of the entire rest of the world, and taking that and forcing the inhabitants out to different countries who don't want them, and then deciding to build on it for his own and potentially the country's economic gain. But his plans for that economic gain and how it will affect the country are not yet resolved.
Peter?
Would Palestinians have the right to return to Gaza if they left while the rebuilding was
It
happening?
would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest.
Yeah, so I think that's another great clip to understand his viewpoint on this as being purely transactional. This is not something that he does not want to bring peace back to the Middle East.
Tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that.
He does not want to help the people in Gaza or the Israelis to help fix the situation in the Middle East. What he wants is to purchase this piece of land and erase all of its history and then develop businesses and Western culture on that land. He's mentioned this before, his son-in-law's mentioned this before, how it's a great waterfront property and has great potential of value. And then he goes and degrades it and calls it rubble and worthless. Doesn't possibly understand the fact that people who live there, who have culture there, whose entire history is there, why they would want to come back or why they would want to be a part of that process. And I think he's extremely out of touch in this situation. And I feel like this is a very obvious using the area and exploiting it. And I don't know why this is something that's even in conversation.
And nobody can live there. You can't live there. So if we can build them through massive amounts of money supplied by other people, very rich nations, and they're willing to supply it. If we can build something for them in one of the countries.
So he says that he wants to transform this area from a place of destruction and rubble into a place that people want to be. Now, he's also mentioned that this is going to take massive amounts of money, which it would, and he says that he wants other countries to supply this. Now, this is just blatant lie. He can't do that. He wants to basically essentially buy a piece of land and then force other developed nations to fund our project. That doesn't happen. That never happens. That never will happen. That never has happened. It won't happen. It's not going to happen. He said the same thing with the Mexican wall, that it was going to be their wall, they were going to build it. First off, he got approval for like 80 miles of new wall, I believe it was, something like that. And the United States paid for every cent of it. There will never be a time where a United States project that is only helping us will be funded by other countries. And this is where I want to get into more of he's now changing his stance, right? Throughout his entire first term and more so towards the end of it and then through Biden's administration, he has talked about the Middle East a lot. First, it was bringing the troops back from Afghanistan, which he started that. He criticized Obama extensively for having troops involved in the Middle East. He criticized Biden for his withdrawal from the Middle East. He's criticized everybody with their involvement in the Middle East and has consistently pushed for a more nationalistic point of view with his tariffs and wanting to produce things in the United States, wanted to bring more jobs back to the United States, wanted to do all these things in the United States. My question to him would be, why now do you want to get involved with other countries? After criticizing other presidents for so long for their involvement in the Middle East, for their aid to other countries, for their aid to Gaza, why do you now think that it's the time to purchase that land and then put more American citizens and potentially American soldiers in that land that you have personally criticized to be dangerous and a place that the United States should just not be involved with? On top of that, he's also mentioned that he wants to remove trillions of dollars of government spending per year by removing certain agencies and departments such as the Department of Education. We've seen he fired the head of the FAA. He's paused hiring of air traffic controllers. He's making these changes that are affecting the people in the United States. And he's justifying that by saying that he wants to help save them money, right? The idea is that he removes this money from being spent in the government and then in turn gives bigger tax breaks to the individual and the citizens um, in order to, help them financially, which in theory is not bad as long as we're actually being efficient about it and firing people who their positions don't cause catastrophe in our nation, which is up to discussion about the things he's already done. However, he's contradicting himself now by saying he's going to spend massive amounts of money overseas in the Middle East on this project of owning Gaza, and he's justifying it by saying that other countries are going to pay for this. Now, no other country has come out and said that they want to pay for this. No other countries have expressed any interest in spending any money towards the Middle East to help fund our project. It's just something that simply won't happen. Like no other G7 nation is going to help fund this project. This is going to rely purely on American taxpayer dollars. And I'm very much believe that he knows that and is not going to say that and is going to try his absolute best to say that's not going to happen. But there's no way around it. There's no way to possibly have other countries pay for this. It just is not going to happen. Those are my thoughts on this entire situation. Now, this was a very brief briefing of this entire interview. And these were just the important ones that I shared. Final regards. Trump wants to buy Gaza, and I want you, as an American citizen, if you are one, as a taxpayer, I want you to truly think about this and think, does it make sense, right? What is the gain for purchasing Gaza? Because humanitarily, it's not going to help, right? He wants to send all the Palestinians to a different country, which they don't. They don't want to leave, first off, and second off, the countries don't specifically want them. But he wants to purchase a piece of land, kick all the people out, and develop upon it. And I want you to just think about other times this happened. As I mentioned, the Trail of Tears is a huge one in our own history. It's bad, and the entire point of history is to learn from it. And the entire point of these classes and the things we're teaching these kids in schools is to learn from these mistakes, is to vote for leaders who make the right choices and represent the citizens that they're leading. And I think that if everybody was truly informed of what is happening with this, they would not support it. Imagine if Russia came to the United States and said that it was rubble and destruction and it was a shithole. And then he was going to liberate us by sending us to the UK, by sending us to France, by sending us to Canada, and then he was going to build upon it and make it this valuable place. We understand the value of the United States. The Palestinians understand the value of Palestine. We don't need Russia to come in and tell us the value of our nation, and they don't need the United States to come in and tell them the value of their nation. This is not a policy issue, this is a humanitarian issue, and it's a very simple one, in my opinion. Now, I'm by no means a political professor or political scientist. I'm just a political science student. So take my response with a grain of salt and with a grain of ignorance and unknowing. But as a slightly informed American citizen, these are my thoughts. And comment yours down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.